All right, everybody, welcome back. It's been forever. At least that's how it feels for me, right? So, welcome back to the Former Athlete Society. Just a couple updates before I jump in. It is in the heart of basketball season right now. So, I've always wanted to do these Former Athlete Society calls at least twice a week. But what I'm finding is I'm traveling all across the country. Life is chaotic right now. So, if our frequency of uploads drop to once a week, I'm going to continue to alternate between our Q&As and our accountability calls. So that is kind of the way that we're going to navigate through this basketball season because it is just craziness. So if you're watching this right now and you're watching it on YouTube or you're in our live Zoom right here, catching it, right? All I want to say is welcome and thank you for tuning in. I want you to know that something right out of the gate right here that these are special. And it's not because we're giving any amazing advice or anything like that. It's special simply because of you, your involvement, your commitment to yourself and to our community that we're building, right? These sessions are, for me, one of my favorite things to do in my week because they give me a chance to just, again, sit down, slow things down, and talk directly to our Former Athlete Society community members, right? So there's no fluff, there's no hype, there's no scripts, there's no anything out there that that we're not going to tackle today, right? So I know many of us are just trying to figure out how to live strong, feel strong, stay strong long after your jersey during your competitive years come off. So here's the truth: you and I both know that life just gets ridiculously busy sometimes, right? We have things like work, travel, family schedules, injuries, health concerns, confidence dips, the ups, the downs of training, the constant tug of war between who you were as an athlete and who you are trying to be right now, right? We used to have all of the structure in the world, built in accountability, built in coaching, built in community. All of this was done by design, right? Just by nature of being a college athlete, right? You simply just go through the system, the machinery of college sports, and you get better. You have all these things baked in. Well, now that you're done with college sports, yeah, all of that is that's gone, right? And that's why it's on us. And that's why I built this community. I built this group for for all of us to support each other. Right? You show up, I show up, we build this thing together. Now, before we get into these questions, a couple things right from the get-go. Some of you know this, right? But the algorithm, if you will, looking at our followers, looking at those that have tuned in, watched videos, liked videos, subscribed, etc. All of this says that most of the people that watch our videos are first time watchers, right? Which means you might not know who I am, what I do, what the Former Athlete Society is. But if that's the case, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I've been one for nearly 20 years, and I've worked with the Power Four level elite athletes from all over the world, right? Professional sports, Olympians to elite college athletes. And I'm trying to take all of the lessons I've ever learned in college sports and provide them for you to give you those advice. The same advice I would give an athlete, I'm giving it to us, to you watching this right now. Now, before we get into our Q&A questions today, I just want to set the scene. I want to set the tone for what we're going to discuss. And certainly something that hit me hard recently. When you transition out of college sports, out of competitive sports, nobody gives you a playbook. Nobody hands you a manual that says, here's how to train when your body isn't 19 anymore. Here's how to fuel yourself without a dining hall or a cafeteria. Here's how to stay disciplined, Adam, without a coach blowing a whistle in your face. No, they don't do that. Here's how to manage your stress, your recovery, your mindset, your habits, your body weight, your hormones, your energy, your motivation. You're just sent out into the world expecting to figure it all out. And that's what this community is all about. That's what I built this for. This is where we collectively, together, we rebuild that playbook. And every single time someone asks a question in these sessions, it helps write another page. Now, because this is a live call, we got people tuning in to Zoom. Sometimes we get tons of questions from folks in the community, and it ends up just being just crazy. I get like 30 questions. I put them in the backlog. I try to answer them. If I don't answer them right here on this call, I certainly send them out in our community. And you can find that community. Number one, you can find it right here. It's adamringler.com. This is where you can subscribe to the Former Athlete Society. And here you can get all of your questions answered by me, right? Whether it's on the live call, the one-on-ones, the accountability calls, or the Q&A calls, I try to answer all of those questions um, every single time, right? So whether it's on these videos or if it's in our community, that's where you can go and you can get your questions answered. So that's our setup. How about we just jump right into it? Because I love this first question where it's coming out of. Now, this was sent through our former athlete society private community page. Again, you can find that right here. Where, Adam? Sorry, this is all getting crazier on me. Right here at adamringler.com. You can find that community page there. And this one's from Michael, and Michael is out of Montana, and he writes the Former Athlete Society this question. Adam, I travel for work 3 to 4 weeks of the, 3 to 4, boy, I am struggling reading today. It's my contacts. I'm in and out of hotels nonstop. I travel for work 3 to 4 weeks out of every month. 4 weeks out of every month. Oh my goodness. You must be doing sales or something crazy. Um, I'm constantly in different environments, and my training consistency takes a hit. Some hotel gyms are good, some are terrible, and some barely have anything besides a dusty treadmill and two mismatched dumbbells. Let me tell you, I traveled to Hawaii recently, and that was exactly the case. We barely had any equipment. What's the best strategy for staying on track when you're always on the road? Now, Michael, this is a fantastic question, and it's honestly something I get all of the time. I have to navigate this myself. I'm in and out of hotels, traveling with our basketball team. Here's the thing: most former athletes, they assume they assume that traveling automatically means that progress gets derailed. They think that everything has to be perfect or it's not worth doing at all. They think, well, if I don't have my home gym set up or my commercial gym, I train out of Lifetime or wherever it is, I can't train. What's the point? And that's where it's wrong, right? This is where most people are misinformed and just go completely off the rails. Because the truth is this: the goal when you're traveling is not perfection, the goal is consistency. And it should resemble your normal rhythm as closely as possible without reinventing the wheel, right? You know what I mean by that? The way that I coach this is so simple. You need a plan A, you need a plan B, and a plan C. And they should all look 80% like each other. And when you make a totally different plan B or plan C than what your plan A would be, you increase friction. You introduce too many variables into your routine. Your routine feels foreign, and suddenly you are mentally negotiating with yourself instead of showing up and just going through it, what you should be doing. And you know this because once you start negotiating with yourself, you're already behind. You're setting yourself up for failure that way. So instead, here's how I approach it. When you're traveling, your number one goal is to mimic the structure of your home training, not necessarily the exercises. So if your home program starts with a hinge day, you still do a hinge pattern wherever you're at. If your home program starts with a push day, you still do a push pattern. You keep the structure identical, even though the tools change. And this is why you see smart lifters travel with things like long loop, resistance bands, etc., portable suspension trainers, all of that stuff. Not because they need it every single trip, but because they know that it takes the guesswork away, keeps the plan recognizable. Now, let's also talk directly about those hotel gyms because, listen, I've been in good ones, I've been in bad ones. Some have full cable stacks, dumbbells up to 100, maybe even a squat rack tucked in the corner, and then some hotel gyms, yeah, they look like they haven't been updated since the Reagan administration, right? That's not the point. The point is this: you walk into a room, you immediately scan what you have available, and then you can ask yourself this question: how can I recreate the intent of today's session with what's in front of me? So let me give you a real world example. You're supposed to do back squats or RDLs or maybe leg presses, but your gym has nothing but dumbbells up to 45 pounds. That's fine. No big deal. Today then becomes goblet squats for high volume, Romanian deadlifts with a slower tempo, split squats for depth, right? Rear foot elevated split squats, right? Getting all the way down. I'm telling you, your legs will suffer that way. Now, is it the same? No. But does it follow the same framework? Yes. And that's the difference between someone who maintains progress on the road and someone who has to restart every single time they get home. So hopefully, Michael, that gives you some some ideas, right? Travel isn't the enemy of progress. A lack of preparation typically is. So let's move on to our next question. But before I do, a couple different things here with the Former Athlete Society and our call out today. If you have yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel here or hit the notification bell. This is my invitation to you right now. Give us a quick follow here. We're trying to build a special community. I know it's been few and far between over the last couple of videos, but I want to make sure that you have access to the material that we are putting out. So if you can, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and certainly smash that notification button and allow us to get this out there to the masses, right? That certainly helps our YouTube channel continue to grow and it helps spread the gospel of the Former Athlete Society. So, next question. This one comes from Dan out of Topeka, Kansas. And Dan asks us about fish oil. Is it good? Is it actually worth taking, especially as we get a little bit older in our bodies? So, yeah, Dan, that's my honest take. Yes, fish oil becomes more important, not less, as we age. So that's important for us to remember. As our joints start taking a little bit more mileage, as inflammation and recovery starts to slow down even a little bit, as our heart and cognitive health starts moving higher on the priority list, omega-3 fatty acids are one of the few supplements with real, consistent, repeatable data behind them. They're not hype. They're not marketing. They're just clinically supported benefits that accumulate over time. So for me, I personally rotate between two products, right? And again, your mileage may vary. I'm not a registered dietitian. I never pretend to be one, nor am I ever recommending products that aren't NSF safe certified for sport. So again, your mileage may vary, but I, as a consumer, really like Gorilla Mind's Elixir. It's a high quality, comprehensive omega-3 formula that's dosed well, and it's easy to stay consistent with. And then secondly, I like Momentous. You know I'm a big fan of Momentous creatine already. So it's right here on my screen. This is our creatine. And as you can see, as I rotate around, there's that NSF safe for sport right there on the product. I always look for that no matter what. But I'm a big fan of Momentous's omega-3, right? Just because of the purity, the NSF certification, the overall cleanliness of the product. But both of those deliver what I'm looking for. EPA and DHA informs that your body actually absorbs and uses. So let me be clear about that. Fish oil isn't a magic pill. It's not a panacea. It's a foundational pillar. It's one of those things that 5 years down the road, you're probably going to be thankful that you stayed consistent with it, right? Your joint health, your inflammation management, heart health, brain function, these things matter more every decade that you live, not less. So, yeah, if you're trying and if you're aging, if you're trying to perform at the very highest level in any capacity, fish oil is one of those few supplements that you should be taking, bar none. So, great question. Certainly something I always try to get into my diet. Um, Couple things real quick, guys. As you're going through this, I'm just looking down here at my keyboard clearly. If you're liking this material right now, if this is resonating with you and you're like, okay, cool, fish oil, check. Keeping plan A as close to plan B, uh, with my training while I'm on the road, that resonates with me. I want to ask you this one favor. If you have yet to do this, head over to my Instagram. It's right there on the screen, Adam Ringler, and give me a like because I'm sharing a lot also on Instagram. This behind the scenes, what we're doing from a strength conditioning perspective, sports science, life optimization, the blueprint community, which is my forever free blueprint plan, where again, that's at Adam Ringler as well. You sign up, you pop in your email, you become part of our free, forever free blueprint membership and you get access to our blueprint channel over at Instagram. So do us that favor right there once again on the screen at Adam Ringler. Let's move on. We got a bunch of other questions that we need to tackle today. This one comes from Stella, and she's over again inside the blueprint, our forever free community. And Stella asks whether fasted cardio is actually better than doing cardio after a meal, or is it just internet mythology? That's a great question, Stella. Here's the truth. It honestly doesn't matter. People want to make it more than what it is, right? As dramatic as people are on social media, at Instagram and Twitter and everywhere else. But for 95% of the population, it simply doesn't matter. Fasted versus unfasted cardio is one of the most overhyped debates in the fitness world. And in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't move the needle the way that people really think it does. So, what does actually matter the most? Consistency, preference, sustainability, all of those things. Those three things will outperform fasted or fed timing every single time. So if you're someone who feels better doing fasted cardio, right, light, energized, clear headed, then sure, do it fasted. But if you're someone who feels flat, depleted, or sluggish without food in your system, then eat a small meal first and get after it. There's no moral high ground here. There's no special fat burning portal that opens because you didn't eat breakfast. No, for the average person, even for pretty dedicated lifters like myself, the difference is really negligible. So, completely overhyped. I wouldn't even worry about it. Don't stress about it unless you're already extremely lean. You're prepping for a bodybuilding or a fitness show or something like that, then sure. Right? Maybe that is the very 1% of things that might move the needle. But that's for most people, that's not a hill worth dying on. So do the version that you can repeat 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week, because that's the version of you that actually gets the results that you're chasing for. So awesome question. I appreciate that one, Stella. Uh, we have two more questions to tackle on our Q&A call today. We're already about 18 minutes into this. So again, welcome. If you're joining us here, you just fast forwarded ahead. Um, you're you're like, I don't want to watch these. Of all the questions, I really love this next one that comes up because it cuts to the heart of so many nutritional questions. And it's, again, much like the fasted versus fed sort of states of cardio, this is one that gets debated online all of the time. Kayla out of Sacramento asks, Coach, do you still prefer eating 6 to 7 smaller meals throughout the day, or is it better to just stick with 2 to 3 big meals? You already kind of know my stance on this. So let me start with this because I think it actually surprises a lot of people. Everyone says meal frequency doesn't matter. Here's the part that they're not telling you about. Meal frequency does matter depending on your goals, though. It doesn't matter maybe in the grand scheme of things for weight loss and a direct calorie in versus calorie out way, but it absolutely matters for body composition, energy, performance, maintaining a positive nitrogen balance throughout the day. And yeah, for me, I still prefer I eat 6 meals, smaller meals throughout my entire day from 6 a.m. to about 9 p.m. And I've done that way for years, right? My first feedings around 6 a.m., like I said, I keep them generally about 2.5 to 3 hours spaced out throughout the day. And that rhythm works for me because, quite frankly, it keeps me feeling steady. I have steady blood sugar throughout the day, steady energy, steady recovery. And here's something I also think that most people don't nearly think about or certainly talk about enough when it comes to more smaller, more frequent meals. One of the biggest nutritional philosophies that I follow personally is that I like to keep my proteins and fats in one meal and my proteins and carbs in another. And almost rarely, if ever, combine my carbohydrates and fats in the same meal. Why? Because digestion is cleaner, energy is cleaner, performance around training improves, right? You have the insulin response with higher carbohydrate foods. Insulin, as a hormone, wants to pull things into the bodies. We don't want to be pulling in more lipids into our bodies as storage. So, again, I try to keep those separate. I almost rarely, if ever, have carbohydrates and fats in the same meal. I try to time all of my meals around, especially my high carbohydrate meals around my training windows, both bracketing it before and afterwards. Um, and I don't usually have much carbohydrates in the mornings or in the afternoons. Now, for a lot of former athletes, especially when they leave structured training environments, they start grazing or they're smashing giant meals all at once. And then they wonder, hey, why do I feel sluggish or bloated or foggy or whatever? Spacing those meals out fixes a lot of those issues. Now, can somebody thrive on 2 to 3 big meals? Sure, yeah. People do it all the time. But some people, or the work schedule that they live, it demands that. Some just prefer simplicity, 1 meal a day type of folks, right? But if you ask me what I believe in as a coach, what I feel in my body, what works best, and what I've seen replicated across thousands of athletes that I've worked with, it's more frequent meals. It's the drumbeat of frequent feedings throughout the entire day. It's maintaining that positive nitrogen balance all day long. It's structured, consistent meals instead of chaotic ones. That rhythm supports training, it supports muscle retention, body composition, it supports sanity, if anything else. So the short answer is this: you can do either. But for me, I'm sticking to my 6 meals because it's the most consistent path that I know to staying lean, to staying strong, and recovering year round. We got one more question, but before I dive into that, let's just take a quick moment. Right here on the screen, you can see it. Hit the subscribe button to this YouTube channel. Allow us to get into your YouTube feed and allow us to deliver some of these videos to you when they drop because, quite frankly, guys, we're dropping videos all the time. So smash the notification bell. Allow us to hit your phone with the notification when a new video drops. This is the last question in our lineup today, and this one comes from a former Athlete Society member. This is Blake out of Indiana, who asks, Adam, do I really need electrolytes, or is plain water good enough? That's a great question, right? So let me open with this because I think this is one of the most misunderstood topics in fitness. I've seen it replicated across all of my athletes. Sometimes they say this as well, and I have to try to advise them and work with them as far as this. Most people think that dehydration is solved just by simply drinking more water, but sometimes water is the exact thing that's maybe making them worse. Oh, what do you mean by that, Adam? Sounds backwards. All right. But in some instances, it's actually true. Here's the thing: water alone isn't always enough, especially when you're training hard, you're sweating heavily, you're living at altitude like we do out in Colorado, or if you're in a dry or humid climate. So let me break that down in a way that actually matters in real life. Now, altitude, like where I live in Boulder, right? Your respiratory rate is higher, you lose more moisture through breathing, and your body is burning through minerals faster than you realize. People move here from sea level and they suddenly feel headaches or fatigue or dizziness and brain fog and all of those things. Why? Right? Even when they drink more water, nothing improves. And the problem can typically boil down to electrolytes, not the water. Dry, arid climates, however, think of places like Utah or Nevada, Arizona, even parts of western Colorado, you don't even realize that you're sweating because it evaporates instantly. That means that you're losing sodium and potassium without any obvious sweat signals, if you will. If you only replace the water and none of the minerals that you lost along with the water, your hydration system gets all out of balance. Now, your more humid climates like Louisiana or Florida or Alabama, you do feel the sweat. It feels like it's just sticking all over you, it's pouring off of you. You're losing sodium like crazy. Again, water alone won't cover it. So former athletes sweat harder than they think. Here's something that I've always noticed coaching thousands of athletes. Even years after sport, former athletes typically they still sweat like athletes. That's innately what makes us who we are. Right? They still move like athletes. They still train hotter than the average person. They're high output humans. High output humans need more than just plain water to stay hydrated. So, do you need electrolytes every single day? Not necessarily. But if you're training intensely, you're sweating noticeably, you're lifting in a hot gym, you're living at altitude, you're doing long cardio sessions, you're rucking outside, you're doing saunas and cold plunges or things like that, then yes, electrolytes make a massive difference. So, great question. Something to certainly check out. Um, yeah, yeah. I think that's going to be it today, guys. Looking at the clock, we're about 27 minutes in. I think that's going to wrap up our former Athlete Society live Q&A. And if you stuck with me through all 5 questions, these conversations are exactly what this community is all about. It keeps us alive, it keeps us growing into something more meaningful. And the truth is this: it doesn't matter whether I get 5 questions, 50 questions, or it's just me sitting here talking shop one on one with whoever shows up in our live Zoom. The people inside this community always make it worth it. So we've covered a lot today. We've talked about staying consistent while we're on the road. We hit on things like fish oil supplementation, why taking care of your joints and cognitive health matters as we get older. We got into some meal frequency talk about, how to uh, remain in a positive nitrogen balance by more frequent meals rather than just 1 or 2 big meals. We talked about hydration. We talked about training consistency. We talked about a lot of different things. But here's the overarching theme to today that I just want you to live with, right? And I want you to leave this video thinking about. Everything that we've talked about today is meant to simplify your life, not add more noise. Consistency across imperfect days beats perfection on rare days. So, small adjustments repeated over time are what change your body, your performance, and how you feel. So, if you found any part of this video helpful, maybe share the replay, share the video with somebody inside the community, or maybe somebody like a friend, a coworker, a parent, a family member, somebody. Because you all shape the direction of what these Q&As and the accountability calls in our community go. So every question gives us and gives me a window into what you're dealing with, what you're struggling with, and what you're trying to master. So I appreciate you. I want to say thank you. Go crush the rest of your day today. Stay consistent, stay curious, keep training hard, and until our next video, stay strong, stay healthy. I'll see you then.